100 years of expertise in science and technology. However, just before the magazine began working on 9/11, the president of Hearst Magazines, Kathleen Black, who is married to a former employee of the CIA and the Department of Defense, replaced much of the staff, including the longtime creative director and the editor-in-chief. Moreover, one of the new members of the staff, who described himself as the senior researcher for the magazine's 2005 article about 9/11, on which its 2006 book is based, was Benjamin Chertoff, a cousin of the head of Homeland Security, Michael Chertoff. When Benjamin's mother was asked whether he was related to Michael Chertoff, she said, "Yes, of course, he's his cousin." But the new editor-in-chief at Popular Mechanics, James Meigs, has tried to cast doubt on this connection. He misquotes her statement. Then he speaks of the odd coincidence that the two men have the same last name. And he allows only that it's possible that Ben and Michael are distantly related. This is one of the unintentionally hilarious moments in this book. Although Meigs claims that he and his crack staff were able in just a few months to discover the truth about why the hijacked airliners were not intercepted, why the 3 buildings came down, and what happened at the Pentagon, and what happened to Flight 93. They could not discover whether a member of their own staff was related to the head of Homeland Security. The moral of this discussion, in any case, is that none of these official or semi-official reports can be assumed to be the unvarnished truth about 9/11 or anything close. However, many journalists, treating these reports as if they were authoritative, have been led to absurd conclusions. For example, Alexander Cockburn accepts the 9/11 commission's claim that the military failed to intercept the hijacked airliners because of incompetence at the FAA. He then, on this basis, refers to the 9/11 truth movement as the 9/11 conspiracy nuts. Members of this movement, Cockburn charges, know no military history, have no grasp of the real world, no conception of evidence, and they represent the ascendancy of magic over reason. This charge might seem plausible as long as all one knows about the 9/11 movement is that one of its spokespersons is a theologian. Cockburn calls me the guru of the 9/11 conspiracy movement, as if it were a faith-based movement, not a fact-based movement. However, if one gets empirical about the 9/11 truth movement, one can quickly see that Cockburn's characterization cannot even qualify as a caricature. The movement includes Colonel Robert Bowman, the head of the Star Wars program during the Ford and Carter administrations, Andreas von Bülow, former state secretary in the German Federal Ministry of Defense, General Leonid Ivashov, former chief of staff of the Russian Armed Forces, Colonel Robert D. Ray, a highly decorated Vietnam veteran who became Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense during the Reagan administration, and many other former military officers, such as Lieutenant Colonel Guy Razor, an Air Force fighter pilot who says, "After 4+ years of research since retirement in 2002, I am 100% convinced that the attacks of September 11, 2001 were planned, organized, and committed by treasonous perpetrators that have infiltrated the highest levels of our government." The movement also includes organizations called Pilots for 9/11 Truth, scholars for 9/11 Truth, scholars for 9/11 Truth and Justice, veterans for 9/11 Truth, architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth, and SPINE, the scientific panel investigating 9/11. The movement also contains several former intelligence officers, including former CIA analysts Bill Christensen and Ray McGovern. The movement was also endorsed shortly before his death in 2006 by William Sloane Coffin, who had been a Russian specialist for the CIA before he became a well-known preacher and a civil rights and anti-war activist. As this list makes clear, the 9/11 Truth movement, if examined empirically, cannot be dismissed as a bunch of conspiracy nuts with no grasp of the real world and of military matters, as people who, having no conception of evidence, engage in magical thinking. Coburn's unempirical approach to the 9/11 movement, combined with his uncritical acceptance of official reports, has led him to make charges that are obviously absurd. The moral of this discussion is that there is no a priori way to make a responsible judgment as to which of the theories is correct. We must look at the facts, then ask which theory better fits those facts. We must get empirical. At this point, defenders of the official theory could say, exactly, and that's what we have done. Thomas Kane and Lee Hamilton, the chair and vice chair of the 9/11 Commission, put out a new book in 2006 entitled Without Precedent, The Inside Story of the 9/11 Commission. They write, the starting point for the 9/11 Commission report was that it would focus on the facts. Indeed, Kane and Hamilton say, the term go to the facts became something of a joke within the Commission. The real joke, however, is their claim that this is the method they actually followed. The Popular Mechanics book is subtitled, Why Conspiracy Theories Can't Stand Up to the Facts. The authors, in explaining their approach, say, we simply chuck the facts. Not everyone who cries, Lord, Lord, Jesus of Nazareth reportedly said, really lives in accord with the will of God. Likewise, not everyone who cries, facts, facts, really follows the empirical method, letting their theories be determined by the facts rather than the other way around. Neither Popular Mechanics, nor NIST, nor the 9/11 Commission takes an empirical, scientific approach. They all begin with the official story, then construe the facts to fit that theory, even though this requires distorting some facts and eliminating many others. It is instead the 9/11 Truth movement that has gotten empirical about 9/11. I will give some examples. The whole basis for the Bush administration's attack on Afghanistan and its more general war on terror has been the claim that the attacks of 9/11 were carried out by Arab Muslim members of al-Qaeda under the leadership of Osama bin Laden. This claim, however, was never proven. Shortly after 9/11, Secretary of State Colin Powell promised to provide a white paper showing that bin Laden was responsible, but this paper was never produced. The Taliban said that it would gladly hand over bin Laden if only the United States would provide evidence of his involvement of 9/11, but the Bush administration refused, leading a Taliban spokesman to say, we have asked for proof of Osama's involvement, but they have refused. Why? The 9/11 Commission, in spite of Kane and Hamilton's stated commitment to go to the facts, makes no mention of any of these facts. In claiming that they started with the facts, Kane and Hamilton say that their commission was not setting out to advocate one theory or interpretation of 9/11 versus another. And yet, they tell us, when we set up our staff teams, we told one team to tell the story of al-Qaeda's most successful operation, the 9/11 attacks. If that's not starting with a theory, what would be? The 9/11 movement, by contrast, has gotten empirical about this matter. With regard to the alleged hijackers, there was, according to the government, much evidence that implicated